Continuous learning as a core value. Fuel growth beyond training. What works well, es bueno. A thriving culture of continuous learning goes beyond checking boxes on formal training programs. It empowers individuals to grow in real time, to adapt, and to innovate at every level of the organization. Continuous learning is the engine that drives resilience, leadership, and success, not just for the individual, but for the entire team. When people are empowered to learn continuously, they're not just keeping up with change, they're leading it. Real world experience. Some of the most transformative growth I've experienced, both for myself and my teams, didn't happen in neatly structured classroom settings. It came in the thick of real world challenges, where the stakes were high and there was no instruction manual. It's in those moments when we're unsure, stretched thin, and forced to push ourselves that real learning happens. By giving people the space to lead, to face uncertainty head on, and to take on stretch goals, I saw their confidence, creativity, and problem solving abilities explode in ways no traditional training could replicate. Growth wasn't just professional, it was personal. It fostered courage, resilience, and a mindset where calculated risks became opportunities for transformation. I've pursued formal education while working full-time, earning my Bachelor of Science in 2001 and an MBA in Strategic Management in 2011, along with certifications like the PMI PMP in 2002, Safe Agilist in 2023, and Kanban Leader in 2024. Yet the most powerful lessons didn't come from textbooks or classrooms. They came from navigating the unknown, being thrown, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes not, into environments where I had to sink or swim. One of the most eye-opening moments in my career occurred when I reported to a director with a PhD. While they could recite theories like a textbook, the real-life complexities of our fast-paced, high-pressure environment left them paralyzed. In just 6 weeks, they were let go for a series of offenses unrelated to me. However, I had my own memorable encounter when I was called in and asked if I had witnessed any unethical behavior. I recounted an incident where he called me a piece of work because I refused to be submissive like his wife, especially when he attempted to manipulate data to make himself appear heroic for a non-existent issue. That experience solidified my belief that advanced degrees and certifications, while valuable, mean little without the ability to apply that knowledge in the real world. You can possess all the knowledge in the world, but true growth comes only through facing adversity and adapting to real-life challenges. In 2011, I took on a leadership role managing complex international technology programs, where the success or failure rested on my shoulders. I was not just overseeing major initiatives, I was accountable for their outcomes. Fortunately, I reported to a supportive leader who actively backed my requests, and her manager also provided the necessary support. Their leadership style was to delegate and advocate for me when I brought forth legitimate issues and requests for resources. This experience was memorable as they also recognized my contributions and value. One of my proudest accomplishments was leading the implementation of a new casino management system. This project was immense, involving 2,500 electronic gaming machines, millions in revenue, and a complex network of internal and external vendors. I vividly recall the sleepless nights, relentless pressure, and critical decisions that were pivotal to the initiative's success. In the end, we delivered. It was a hard-fought victory, and I felt great knowing I played a key role in achieving it. However, what mattered most was the personal growth I experienced throughout this process. I became a more empathetic leader, truly understanding the grit and resilience required to deliver under pressure. Being in the trenches with my team, sharing in both the highs and lows, enabled me to lead with a deeper understanding of our collective challenges. I chose to leave when changes in leadership led to a shift in priorities, and I felt that my contributions, including my role as a people manager, overseeing 5 program managers, deserved recognition through appropriate compensation and an office that reflected my responsibilities. There were times, though, when the real growth wasn't so glamorous. I've been in workplaces where I was undervalued, unseen, and downright mistreated. But each time I wanted to quit, I asked myself, what am I learning here? If I couldn't answer that question, I knew it was time to move on. Stagnation is never an option for me. If I'm not learning and growing, moving up or over, I'm out. If I can't move up or move over, I move out. That same philosophy applies to my team. If someone feels stuck and I can't offer them the growth they need, I'll help them find it, even if that means helping them transition elsewhere. Continuous learning isn't just about thriving where you are, it's about knowing when it's time to seek new challenges. I've fought for learning opportunities even when budgets were tight. I found ways to provide growth through cost-effective resources. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about investing in people. And it paid off. The improvements in skills, engagement, and overall morale were undeniable. Even without massive training budgets, we built a culture where continuous learning wasn't a luxury. It was a way of life. As Warren Buffett wisely said, the best investment you can make is in yourself. Minimal company funding helped me earn my degrees and certifications, but I made it my mission to pay off every dollar I borrowed, early $50,000. And that doesn't include the additional $50,000 I invested in non-traditional education, coaches, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, classes, and more over nearly 30 years of personal development. When I finally hit that last $10,000, it was a hard-earned victory. But it wasn't without a fight. Sally Mae made a $4,000 accounting error, and I wasn't about to let that slide. Every dollar mattered, and that mistake didn't sit right with me. Lesson learned, always double-check your statements. Protect what you've worked too hard to earn. I digress. I've also tapped into countless free resources, like LinkedIn Live sessions, even during evenings and early Saturday and Sunday mornings at 6, 7, and 8 a.m. And while I've invested in things like shoes and purses that rarely paid off, my biggest returns have come from investing in my mind, buying books, following educators on YouTube, and seeking out coaches. All of this was funded from my own pocket because I believe that if I'm not pushing myself to keep learning and growing, I can't expect my team to do the same. What does not work so well? No bueno. When organizations neglect continuous learning, they don't just halt progress, they lose their edge. I've seen firsthand how treating growth as a luxury leads to disengagement, high turnover, and a stagnant workforce. When learning opportunities dry up, creativity dies, and teams become reactive instead of proactive. The organizations that fail to embed learning into their DNA inevitably fall behind, while those that prioritize it continue to innovate and grow. Learning isn't something to check off a list. It must be a core value embedded into the daily rhythm of the organization, not just through formal programs, but in how we approach every challenge. When teams are encouraged to learn, adapt, and evolve, they don't just keep up, they set the pace. This is how organizations thrive, by empowering every individual to grow, innovate, and tackle challenges with confidence. At the end of the day, continuous learning isn't just about formal education or certificates. It's about transformation. It's about stepping into discomfort, tackling uncertainty, and realizing that growth comes from the hardest experiences. It's about properly coaching and delegating to others who are willing and ready to grow, pushing boundaries, stretching limits, and creating an environment where everyone is empowered to rise to the occasion. As the script sings in Hall of Fame, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong, banging on your chest. Continuous learning is about recognizing that greatness doesn't come from staying in your comfort zone. It comes from constantly pushing yourself to be better, to grow beyond what you thought possible. It's about striving for excellence, not just for yourself, but for your team, your organization, and the future you're building. And when we commit to learning every day, we don't just create success stories, we create legacies. This concludes Chapter 26. Please proceed to Chapter 27. Self-care is leadership. Model well-being for your team.